This time we're going to talk about Unit 7, which is harmony and voice leading 4. Voice leading is pretty useful when it comes to answering the free response questions on the AP Music Theory exam. So be sure to pay attention and watch the other voice leading tutorials also. And then if you want to become a member, you just go to this bit.ly link. It's only 17 characters that you type into your keyboard, so it's not hard to join. And please use your MCPS account if you go to an MCPS school. Thank you.
Okay, so today we will be going over Unit 7 of AP Music Theory, which covers chromatic harmony and secondary function. So first, let's talk about tonicization. Tonicization is a brief hint at a new key. It incorporates accidentals from outside the home key, so it's an example of chromatic harmony. So this is different from modulation, which is like a long-term key change, while tonicization is shorter and it only lasts for a couple of chords.
You can maybe think of this as temperature and climate. Temperature is just one day or something. Climate is the long term. Okay, so we're going to go over secondary dominants. The secondary dominants are dominants in a key other than the tonic. They're notated using two chords separated by S slash. The second chord acts as the second home key, and the first chord denotes the chord in that second home key. So for example, in C major, the dominant of C major is G major, and then the dominant of G major is D major. So the dominant of the dominant is D major. So the first few bars of the Star Spangled Banner contain two instances of secondary dominance.
Okay, so now we're going to talk about part writing with secondary dominants. So secondary and dominant sound like a 5-1 out of like context. And then it also acts like as a predominant. And then when you do part writing, remember to not double the secondary leading tone or like the leading tone in general, because you'll have parallel octaves. And if you do that, that's going to be like a -5, no, -3 on like the free response question 2. Yeah. So make sure to avoid those mistakes because you'll end up losing lots and lots of points that you should be getting. And then we also have 5/6, and it only exists in minor, as 5/4 in major is just like the tonic triad, and then a 5/4 and 5/2 go before predominant chords. So just memorize these 4 definitions on this slide, and you should be fine with secondary dominance.
And make sure to practice with those in part writing, as we have many practice worksheets below. So
yeah.
They're linked in the description if you want to go check them out.
Yeah.
So augmented six chords. So augmented six chords contain an augmented six interval, hence the name. They're used as a predominance, and they can substitute for the 4 or the 2 chord. There are 3 types of augmented six chords. There's the German augmented six chord, which resolves to the cadential 6/4, and it sounds like a dominant 7th out of context. So, which then can go to something like that. The French augmented six chord is the most dissonant of them, and it resolves to 5 or 5/7. And there's also the Italian augmented six chord, which resolves to 5 or 5/7 as well. And it's basically German, but without the chord fifth. So an example of a French augmented six chord is like in a piece that I wrote for like a composition event, which will be edited into here right now.
Neapolitan chords are major triads based on the lowered supertonic. It can be used as a predominant, substituting the 4 or the 2 as they share common tones. It's usually in first inversion as this is closer to the 4 in root position. And the first inversion Neapolitan chord is labeled as N6. An example of a Neapolitan six chord being used as a predominant can be found in the opening measures of Chopin's Ballade No. 1. Um, yeah, amazing piece. We will link it down below.
Okay, now let's talk about modulation. Modulation is a long-term change in key, as opposed to tonicization. It's just somewhat longer in changing between different keys. And then, so when we talk about like pieces that are in major keys, this is usually like the dominant. And then for minor, it is the relative major. And then there are two types. They are common chord modulation, which has like shared chords or pivot chords, and they're used to change keys. And we also have direct modulation, where second key just comes straight in without like the use of a pivot chord. And yeah.
So we're gonna cover modulation in depth and how it relates to musical form and structure in Unit 8. Be sure to tune in next unit so you won't miss it.
We'll see you next time. Bye.